Today on the Diamond King podcast, I have Mr. Ronnie Alpha from American Hunter in Covington, Louisiana. Mr. Ronnie, thank you for coming to see me. I look forward to talking with you.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me on.
Let's do it. How long has that business been where it is?
I'm going to say about 42 to 43 years.
Holy smokes. And then was it always a gun and archery shop, fishing? You have a lot of products for outdoors.
You know, man, as far as inventory goes, I try to keep it full.
Mm-hmm. Well, they have a fantastic variety in there.
And we try to keep it that way. You have to.
Yep, that's part of the game these days. That's what keeps businesses afloat. You know, there's a lot of businesses that fell during the onset of the internet age. You know, they were just doing retail, and that's all they wanted to do. And people can buy brand name junk online. They can find it. As a matter of fact, they can buy low quality stuff, which was always like a lot of businesses had like A, B, and C quality products that they would offer. And I've noticed that the C quality stuff, you gotta cut that out because people can buy that stuff on Amazon.
But you've got to keep them from going to Amazon, and we do that by the customer service that we provide. It's not about the product at that point in time; it's the service that you get that comes with that product.
True that.
You may spend $5, $10, $50 more, but if you buy it from Amazon and you can't work on it, and you bring it to someone like me, I mean, I've got to charge you to do that because I can't keep the lights on otherwise. Right?
No doubt.
But I have something for everyone.
That's right.
And you can kill a deer with literally anything.
No doubt.
You know, and I bring it to that, or even get into shooting targets. I mean, you don't have to have the best setup on the market to go have a good time with it.
Let's talk about shooting archery for a moment. So this past weekend, my son and I attended a 3D shooting event hosted at your business, and y'all, Ronnie has a lovely 3D range. If you go on YouTube, there's a channel called 3D Archery. A gentleman from Archery, Louisiana, travels all over the world shooting 3D archery. Now, for those of you who don't know, 3D archery is essentially a foam molded animal that's set out into the woods in a woods-like environment, and you walk from station to station. There's 20 stations.
It's kind of like a golf course for bow shooters.
That's right. It is so much fun, and it's for everyone. You do not have to be. I think what turns a lot of people away is they're afraid of being tossed in there with the high level competition guys. And the only way you're going to do that is if you do it to yourself. If you want to try to get up there and compete for first place, well, you better bring your A game. But if you want to go and shoot and learn, that is the way to do it.
And I'll tell you something. It's the best practice a bow hunter can possibly get. So if you decide to do this, don't think of it as a bow tournament. It's like the word golf tournament, right? I mean, everybody gets nervous that's never played before or whatnot. But if you shoot a bow, I mean, you know your capabilities. Shoot to your capabilities and have fun with it. That's what it's all about. If you're not having a good time, there's no point in doing it, in my opinion.
I agree with you. And my son and I've been shooting a bow since I was probably 13, 14 years old, and I hunted with a bow for years. And, in my adult life, especially working in the jewelry industry, I get very busy toward the end of the year, and I don't get to hunt as much as I used to. But it's a great part of our culture here in Louisiana. They don't call it, I've said this before, but they don't call it Sportsman's Paradise for nothing.
That's right.
And there's a lot of people nowadays who are interested. They just don't know how to get started, in things like archery, because there really is a lot to know.
But it's not difficult. You just got to talk to the right people. That's what it boils down to. I mean, you're not going to find the info you need typically at a box store. You're going to have to go to a pro shop and get the advice you need, and they're going to point you in a direction. It may be, a lot of it's going to depend on your budget, but they will point you in the direction you need to go.
I know what you're talking about. And I can tell you this for sure. The guys that work for you are very helpful, especially you. You set the standard, I believe, for everyone that works there. But the archers that show up are delightful people. I mean, everyone I have met has been absolutely kind. Any questions you have, they're like, "Oh, let me show you," Or if you're having an issue with your shooting, they'll watch you
Yes.
and go, "Hey, man, I think you might be, your problem might be with your grip."
You know, the archery world is really a tight-knit community, and I don't know why. I think it's the purest part of it that comes out in people, and people are they're real people. They're people you want to be around.
Are you seeing young people getting involved a little more lately, or is it usually a young person being escorted by a parent or an uncle or somebody?
So I'll tell you this, the 4-H has gotten huge. I want to say that they had 35 kids in the 4-H archery program in the beginning of the year. It may have started more than that, and then you get some that fall out, and then they go to the gun world or whatever it is in the 4-H that they want to do. They shot regionals, then they would shoot state, and then they would go to nationals if they made it that far.
But there's a local head.
Yes.
All throughout the region.
That's correct.
Gotcha. Well, I tell you what, I would recommend, if there's a parent listening, if you have a child who is looking to try something different, I've always told my children, before I let you play a video game where you're going to be pretending to shoot at something, I said, why don't we just go out in the yard and shoot at something? Let's not pretend to do that. Let's try to develop
let's make it a little more
real skill.
Let's make it more realistic so you know what the weapon actually does, right?
Mm-hmm. I have a good friend who has a son who's 25 years old, who had never shot a bow in his life, and he came to visit with his son, and me and my son who's 13, we were in the yard shooting, and they were watching, and I asked my friend's son, I said, hey, you ever shot a bow before? He said, no. And I said, well, would you like to? He said, yeah. And so
enthusiasm.
Well, and it was genuine wonder.
That's right.
And there is some great, one of my favorite words, there's some great catharsis in shooting a bow. I don't know if it takes us back to our caveman mind or it accesses that place in our far away place in our mind, but when you shoot an arrow and it hits where you were aiming, there's just this real kind of feeling that you get, and you get hooked on it.
It was like you shooting at the iron buck that time. I could see it. It was written all over you, man. You were the man at that point in time. And you could see it written all over your face, but it's this satisfaction that comes in that, I just took a very primitive weapon in that instance, and I did it.
Yeah. So what Mr. Ronnie was talking about, the iron buck. So there's at his event after the shoot, they had a deer silhouette cut out of steel with how big is the hole? 4 inches?
I think it's 5-inch hole.
About a 5-inch hole. It looked like it was about 1.5 inches from 20 yards. But I was shooting in the traditional archery group, which is basically recurve bows. They're pretty advanced. It's not 2 sticks with a piece of rock. It's we're shooting.
But it's not far from that. At the end of the day,
we're shooting carbon arrows. And they're very well balanced. And I don't want to give the wrong idea. It's quality equipment. However, they don't have sights, and so it's like throwing a baseball. You have to draw the bow and really focus and let the arrow go, and then that's it, man. That sucker is on the way, and hopefully it went, like I said, like throwing a baseball. Hopefully you've done your form right and everything works out and it goes where you're aiming. But it is a challenge, and
something, if you want to do it, you have to shoot every single day. With a compound bow, it's a little more like riding a bike. If you've ever gotten off of a bike for years, you can get back on that bandwagon. But that recurve, when you get off of it, you've got to hit it hard.
Well, in the Iron Buck Challenge, you have to hit that little open spot. Now there's a target directly behind the opening, but if you hit the deer, it goes dong and your arrow explodes. And so it's a definite.
I wouldn't quite use the word explode.
Okay, it's broken.
Yes, all right, that's a little better.
It is not going to be good. But yeah, I did. I had a good shooting day that day, and at the end of the day, I did win the Iron Buck, and it was genuine. I was really pleased. You know what I mean? I was genuinely just enthused when that arrow went right. And I tell you what, I have a picture of it. It went right in the middle.
I have a picture of it on my phone with you standing. It might be me and you standing
It was me
next
and
to
you.
it.
I said, "Come get this. We better remember this."
Yep, that was cool. And you look, you still hold the title.
That's right. That's only because we hadn't had it again. But
That's right.
Until he does it again, I'll remain the champion in traditional. Now, the guys who shoot compound, that's a little bit different deal. They shoot out to. We shot at 20 yards, which with a recurve bow is a solid distance. But
Well, with that recurve, as you start backing up from 20, that arc of that arrow makes it much more difficult to hit that hole because now it's not perfectly round, right? It's oblong because of the angle that the arrow's got. That's correct.
How far did the compound guys shoot it out
I want to say they went to 50 yards.
50 yards. Hey, y'all, 50 yards. Half a football field is a long way to send an arrow and have it land where you want it to.
Absolutely.
A lot can happen between you and that spot 50 yards away.
My building is pretty long. It's actually just my retail section's about 4,000 square feet, and it's narrow and long. And if you walked out that front door, you could hear those arrows beating that steel. It was kind of wild.
Everybody participated.
That's right.
And we did I think the compound guys shot 20 yards, and as soon as they were finished, y'all said, well, let's do the traditional guys real quick because we really weren't going to shoot much farther than that. So we started kind of close and worked it back, and it was touch and go. I mean, it was serious competition. No, the guys who were shooting with me, they did not want to lose. I remember all the compound guys cheered because they know that is hard to do.
Because everybody was fired up for you at that moment. It was.
I didn't expect all
impressive.
The compound guys to be like, yeah. But I'll tell you what, I hit it. Everybody was behind me. It was a good time.
That's a true feeling of accomplishment. I'll tell you.
It was. Now, I mean, I always try to encourage, young people to try things. I do it here in the jewelry shop all the time. I get young people in the store with a parent or whomever, and you can see they kind of have a little bit of wonder in their eyes, and they're kind of soaking it all in. And I'll talk to them a little bit, and every now and then I get, a young person who's genuinely interested, and I say, look, this is not a bad job. If you ever have any interest in this, then
right.
I'll kind of counsel them and tell them how what's a good direction to start. And I would like to take this opportunity to do the same thing for you. If there's anybody who's interested in archery, no matter how old you are, but especially young people, young people these days need it bad.
That's right.
They need some guidance. They need some direction. They need some mentoring. They need some examples of how to be and what to do, because it seems that the cards are stacked against them for young folks these days. It's a very difficult time to be a young person growing up in the world. I would invite anyone who's watching this to, look up American Hunter. Go see Ronnie. Just walk in and say, hey, I've never shot a bow before. You got bows set up in the shop.
Yes.
You can take someone and put them in the shooting range with a professional who's going to watch them and take care of everything. Don't talk yourself out of it. Go give it a try. Shoot a couple of arrows. I ended up, I was telling you earlier, my friend and his son came by, and he shot a recurve bow with my son. They shot for 2 days, all day long. And by the time they got ready to leave, he was like, I want to get one of these bows. Yeah. I want to try. I want to get one and take it home with me. They live in Miami. And I said, man, you can put this in your backyard. And anytime you want to do something, instead of going and play a video game, which he likes to do, I said, instead of going play, or if you get tired of playing your video game, which you've played since you were 10, go outside and shoot your bow instead. I said, have competition with your brothers, see who can shoot the best. And it's good for you. It's really a good thing. So super important that if you have interest, don't talk yourself out of it. Go try.
You won't know until you do.
That's right.
And look, if you come and you don't like it, then that means that you don't have to do it, but at least you could say that you tried it.
That's right. That's right. So the shop's been there for, what did you say, 40-some years?
42 or 43 years.
So what is that? It's the early 80s?
I think 82.
82.
So what would 82 be?
41.
41, okay. All right, so I was thinking a little bit off, but 82 was whenever that shop was built.
Yeah.
And I worked there from the time I was 17 years old, right out of high school. So I worked there for 16 years, and I bought it 5 years ago. This May, I'll be there 20 years.
Hot dog.
Almost time to retire. No, I'm just joking.
So you went to work there and you bought it how many years after you started?
16.
So you were there for 16 years and then you bought, my goodness.
It's a long time.
You learned the ropes.
Walls. That's right.
You learned the ropes though, man.
But I think that's why I'm good at what I do, is because I've been through it from the time I was young. I had to learn the steps to make it what it is, Mm-hmm. It didn't just come to me.
Oh, yeah. I remember going into your shop asking about traditional archery, and I didn't know anything about traditional archery.
Right.
And you had a bow there that was yours, and you said, hey, come try it. Come shoot it. And I really honestly went in there with my son because he was interested.
Right.
And he shot a little bit, and then I got him a little set up. And then I said, man, I think I want to try this too, And so that's how we started the journey together. And then we shoot together just about every day. He shoots after school and I shoot after work, You can set up, if you have a backyard, you can shoot at night. You just put a light out.
The best thing is you can shoot almost anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
You can shoot a bow almost anywhere. You don't have to have a giant yard to do it. You don't have to have a yard to do it. You can come to American Hunter. I have an indoor range, an outdoor range, a 3D range.
Yeah, that's right.
So really that shouldn't be your hindrance of buying a bow or whatnot,
I was very surprised at how quickly my son picked it up. 13 years old, he was very awkward with it in the beginning because he didn't have a lot of experience with archery at all.
He didn't know what to do, man.
He didn't know what to do, but
you got to start somewhere.
He laid with it, and now he's still a kid. So he's not he's just learning. But in the past, it's only been since last summer he's been shooting. In the past months, almost a year, he's really come along a long way with it.
But his enthusiasm about it, just when me and you could be sitting there talking at my store, and he's all up in it, listening. He knows what's going on, and then he throws his opinion out there. It's pretty cool, man. It's just like talking to a grown man. I'm gonna say
he likes to chat with the grown-ups. He's a chatter.
That's not a bad thing, man. He's a good kid.
It's not. Thank you. So another thing is, like you were saying, you can shoot anywhere. It's not like shooting a rifle. When you go to shoot a rifle, you're dealing with a whole different setup. You have to have a proper place to do that. With archery, as long as you have a reasonable backstop of some sort, you have to, you can't shoot toward people. You can't shoot toward other people's homes. You have to be mindful of where your arrows are going. But as long as you have a reasonable backstop of just about anything will stop an arrow.
Absolutely, especially off of, I'm going to say this, don't take this wrong.
I know what you mean.
But off of a recurve especially.
Oh, I know exactly.
The compounds nowadays, and you came to me about this the other day, they're a whole lot more powerful. So
it's amazing.
Your backstop has got to be pretty substantial.
So I recently bought, from Ronnie, I bought a Matthews Phase 4, which is, as far as I know, it's the most technologically advanced bow on the planet.
I'd say so.
It's in the top. It's arguably in the top 2 or 3, but in my opinion, I think it's an incredible example of American engineering and manufacturing. It is a beautiful piece of work, and I recently got it, and because my son, for Christmas, I got him a compound bow because he wanted to try that too. So we got a compound bow, and he's been shooting that, and I tell you, he had the idea that I wasn't shooting my compound bow. I think he may have thought I wasn't good at it, so I didn't shoot it. But I was really just kind of tired of it. I was looking for something different.
He didn't realize how much more of a challenge it is to shoot that recurve, huh?
Well, the compounds, they shoot so quickly, and you don't have, and you're shooting at usually a better distance.
Absolutely.
And so when you let those arrows go, they are going at least twice the speed of a good recurve.
So you figure this, a recurve's what, 200 feet a second, maybe?
That's fast for a recurve.
Maybe 200, right?
So 160, 180.
Okay.
That's where they are usually.
Your bow now your compound bow is probably shooting 310.
Well, I have a hunting setup on it right now, so they're a little bit heavy. I think I'm around 280 something.
Okay.
But if you shot a lighter rig, something for competition,
How many pounds are you shooting?
65.
Okay, there's a difference too.
Yeah, I'm on the low end of
Yeah.
the capability of that bow. I think 75 or 80 is max. 75.
75's max, but at 70 pounds with about a 400 grain arrow, you're talking 300 feet per second.
Yeah, that's rolling.
Yep.
And what's crazy about these bows is when you draw the bow, and again, this is for people who don't have experience with this. When you draw the bow, the peak weight at its hardest point will be about a little past 3/4.
That's right.
It peaks and then it lets off. And that, your holding weight on 65 pounds, your holding weight is around 10 pounds, maybe 9 pounds.
That's right, because you're running 85% let off.
85%. That means when you get that bow back to your holding position, you're anchoring, you're focusing on aiming, 85% of the weight is gone now.
That's right. So you're only holding 15% of 65 pounds.
Yeah, and when you
That's
let it go,
not a lot.
When you let it go, man, it fires out of there like it's just impressive. So you're capable these days with the modern archery. You're capable of getting extraordinary accuracy.
Absolutely.
And you hear of people killing deer at 45, 60 yards, crazy,
So
uncommonly.
Look at John Dudley.
I don't know John Dudley.
You've never heard of John Dudley? All right, so he's like the...
I know Chuck Adams.
Oh, man, dude.
I'm old school.
You're old. No. So John Dudley's kind of like I'm not even going to call him the new Chuck Adams, but he's, I'm going to say newer to the archery world. I don't know how long he's actually been around, but, man, he'll shoot deer, elk at 100 yards, 70 yards, 80 yards, and
crazy.
The arrows go all the way through. Boom. Deer, the animal runs off, and they go collect it. It's pretty impressive.
That is impressive because, even with a rifle, for people who've done much hunting, they don't always just fall over. As a matter of fact, most of the time they don't. Most of the time they...
99.9% of the time they do not. You've got to follow the blood trail to the prize, right?
When one falls dead, I'm always surprised. But they usually do run a bit.
So typically, if one falls dead right there, then you probably didn't hit him where you wanted to.
That's right. You made a bad shot.
That's
You hit him
right.
high. The notion, let's talk about hunting for a minute because, a lot of people are interested in hunting. And I was very fortunate. I grew up on a farm out in Tangipahoa Parish, and we grew up hunting, and we did a lot of it. And we hunted everything, squirrel and dove and turkeys and deer. And the buying of the equipment and the practicing, man, that is just step one.
Yes.
Getting ready is just step one. Then if you foray into the woods, now you're in a whole new zone, now you're learning about woodsmanship. You're learning about how these animals respond to you in the woods. And if anybody's, if you've been deer hunting, you've been busted. If you've been turkey hunting, I know you have been busted by the animals.
If you haven't been doing it long enough.
You've only been once.
Yes.
But when you climb up in a tree and attempt to invade a deer's living space, my father-in-law once told me, he said, think about it like this. The woods for the deer, that's his living room.
Yeah.
Now imagine somebody trying to sneak into your living room without you knowing. Hard to do.
It's almost impossible.
It's almost
right?
impossible. So they have a sense that you're there. Yeah. Their sensation of smell is incredible. If a deer smells you, a deer will doubt his eyes. He'll look right at you and go, it's nothing. But if they smell you,
it's over.
They don't need any more convincing to that. They're gone like a shot.
That's right.
Going out of there.
People always said if a deer could see like a turkey or a turkey could smell like a deer, you wouldn't be able to kill either one.
You would not. It's a fact.
Yep.
Now, a turkey, if you've ever been turkey hunting, a turkey is probably the most elusive animal in the woods.
Well, his eyesight's so good. Like I said, but he can't smell you.
Can't smell.
But he can see out of this world.
They can see you blink.
Think about they eat bugs, so they got to be able to see them in the grass.
And everybody likes to eat turkey, so they are constantly on the lookout.
That's right.
They are constantly on the lookout for predators. But you can't move for turkey. You can't move hardly at all. The only possible way you can move is if a turkey walks behind a tree. If you got any moving to do, you better do it right now. But what happens is sometimes they're not alone.
Yep.
And the other ones see you and they bust you.
That's right.
When I'm deer hunting and I have turkey nearby, I usually shoo them away.
Absolutely, man, because they'll see you way before the deer will.
And if the turkey are grazing, and if you're hunting in a wooded area, the turkey kind of come through and they're pecking for whatever they can find. The deer usually are not far behind, because if the turkey are there, that means all is well.
Yeah,
you know, they're like
that's right.
They're like a confidence booster for the deer, because the deer know these turkeys are afraid of everything. So they ease in there behind the turkey, and they'll be looking for the same, you know, whatever it is that the turkeys are eating, and they will bust you. They will bust you hard
every time.
So you know, something that people don't appreciate. So back to hunting. You get to the woods. You've done all your practice. You've been shooting on the ground with your bow. Now you got to contemplate shooting from up in a tree, which is a whole different set of physics. Now you're no longer acting against gravity in a straight line. You're now shooting down, which affects your arrow flight. So at home, you have to set up a deer stand at home and practice shooting from elevation.
Well, what it really affects is your anchor point, because typically, all right, so you're supposed to bend at the waist, right? That's kind of the whole saying.
To get yourself down.
Correct. Well, that way you keep your anchor point on your face when you're bending down. If you don't bend at the waist, your string comes off your nose.
Yeah.
So now your anchor points change, so typically you're going to hit them high. The deer's ducking, so now you're typically going to hit them even higher. That's why high misses happen, backstrap shots happen. So your best bet is to aim at the lower third, bend at the waist, got him every time.
Let it go. Now you said the deer are moving. This is a little detail about deer hunting that a lot of people don't appreciate until it happens. And I remember believing, no way. I remember believing my arrows are going so fast, no way. And let me tell you what happens, folks.
The phenomenon.
The phenomenon of jumping the string, they call it. When you let that arrow go, it makes a noise. Now, in this phase 4 Matthews, I have never heard a quieter bow in my life. It goes thick, thick when you let it go, but it's a noise.
So think about this, though. And, I've always kind of fought this this thought through my head. Are they jumping the string of the sound of the bow, or the arrow flying through the air?
The arrows do make noise as they fly through the air, and I think they hear the string first, and then they hear the arrow making a hiss sound, which is what the arrow sounds like, which you can hear when you shoot indoors. Absolutely. At your indoor range. I shot with my new bow at your place, and I heard this arrow going, and I thought, something's wrong with them arrows. And then I went, no, it's not the arrow's hauling ass. It's the fact that I'm enclosed and I can hear it now.
And your bow's so quiet you can hear it. Because normally the bow would be loud enough to where you couldn't hear the arrow fly. Mm-hmm. So now you're actually hearing something because you're not hearing the bow go off.
That's right. So when the deer hears the combination of the release and the arrow flight, it's making noise. The deer doesn't know what it is, but he knows he wants to get the hell out of there. So the first thing they do is they drop. And what they're doing is they're loading their legs up.
So
they drop, they bend their legs, and then they push off at an angle. And I'm telling you what.
Typically it's away and back to where they came from.
That's right. So if they walk in, they go, I'm out of here, and they go back the way they came.
They go back to the safe haven because they just came through there and nothing happened, right?
Yep, that's their instinct. They go back where they know they were, that they know it's better back there.
That's right.
Because they didn't get shot at back there. So, they take off like crazy, and you will clean miss them. You know, it's amazing.
I think it's actually been tested. They can drop, is it 12 inches in a tenth of a second?
I don't know the data, but I've seen it before, and I remember being baffled by it. I thought, how can they move faster than gravity? It seems like they drop faster than if you just dropped an object.
So I'll tell you something kind of funny that I've watched videos on this because you've always tried to figure it out, right? You want to be the best you can be whenever you're out there. So if a deer's head's up, he can't drop as fast as if his head's down because of gravity. So it's just something to think about if you are a deer hunter and you're out there. Most people want to shoot them with their heads down in the feed, right? Wait till his head's up. He still hasn't seen you, but he can't drop as fast because his head's up, so he doesn't have the weight of his head to pull him to the ground.
Good to know. Good to know.
It's kind of interesting.
I never
right?
really thought about that, but I know a lot of guys that put in an extraordinary amount of time in their hunting, and they go and spend hours and hours scouting, surveying land, trying to figure out where the animals are moving and putting themselves in good position. And I like hunting that way. Though I don't always have the chance.
Here's the difference, though, is that's actual hunting. Most of the time, if you're hunting a food plot or something, really you're sitting and waiting, right? Mm-hmm. You're waiting for them to come instead of being that aggressive hunter and actually going after them, right? Does it?
Yeah.
So every year I go to Illinois, typically for 1 to 2 weeks, which is hard to do because I own my own business, mm-hmm. but I try to make that time. And going up there, I get to hunt. Because I don't know anything because it's public land. Go up there, and when I tell you it's hunting, when you see that deer, you almost go after him like you would a turkey mm-hmm. instead of waiting for him to come to you. Mm. It's very interesting.
Yeah. No, I have a lot of friends. I have never had the opportunity to hunt in Illinois, but I know it's a whole different ball game. Kansas is the same way, whole different world. Missouri, they have a different deal.
You're still having to hunt. You're having to hunt. It's not like I can go out there and put feed out and wait for them to come to me, right? I'm actually having to go, all right, this is where they're moving. This is where they're coming from. How do I ambush them at this certain time? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And look, I'm not knocking the guys who hunt on deer plots. I have done plenty deer plot hunting.
We all have, right?
Plenty. The hunting camp nowadays is a way to get out of the house. It's a way to go and spend time with you can either spend time away from your family by going to the hunting camp, or you can bring, if you have family that wants to hunt, if you have, people you can bring with you. I think a lot of people really enjoy sharing it with their family because anybody who hunts, who enjoys it, it's a family tradition. It is a part of our culture, like I said before, and there's something about it that's very pure and very enjoyable and very natural. Just being in the woods. This time of year in the spring, oh man, being in the woods this time of year, the birds are just berserk and the animals are just coming out of winter and everybody's partying in the woods. I mean, it's alive.
That's a good word for it, is alive.
It's very alive. I love being in the woods this time of year.
But the deer camp life is different than like me going hunt public land, right? So you have it's different. I can't even describe the difference.
Deer camps are just like hanging out at a bar. It's like hanging out at a social club.
Yeah.
There's people there. Everybody's hanging out.
Stand around a fire.
Everybody's just chilling, and that's a wonderful. If you don't, like I said, I tell people all the time, I don't play golf. So going to, the golf club or going to the country club or whatever it is, I didn't have that growing up.
Man, my kid comes in the store and you ought to see him. I'll be talking to customers and he's like standing right next to me and he's just taking it all in. And I'm like, oh yeah,
that's good.
Setting the mold.
That's good. No, it's good. It's good. But my son loves, thank the Lord, my son loves making jewelry, and he has picked it up from me from watching, and he has also, I got to give him credit, he has his own natural talent at it. You can't take somebody who doesn't want to do it, make them do it. But
that's right.
But he wants to do it, and I have explained to him that if you want to have things, you're going to have to figure out a way to get the money. I'm not going to provide. My job is to keep you alive and teach you about the world. My job is not to buy you everything you ever wanted.
That's right.
And so he wants a truck. And I was like, cool. How you gonna get it? What's your plan? And
same thing your dad probably did to you.
Exactly. And kids, they won't learn unless they're given the opportunity. And I think something that's definitely happening. I've, as an employer, have tried to employ young people, and I'm meeting a lot of these 25-year-old young men who, honestly, from a maturity and experience level, at 25, a lot of them are where I was at 13. I kid you not.
I can see that.
It's true. It's absolutely true, and it's not because they're anything mentally wrong with them. They have just never been exposed too much of anything.
Right.
They've never had the chance. They go to school. What they learn at school is not all good. It's mostly, it's arguably not look, the proof's in the results, y'all. I'm not I'm not bad mouthing anybody here, but I mean, the experiment is yielding a rather delicate person. I think we have a lot of people who have grown up in very, very comfortable environments. Nowadays it's very polarized. Like here in Mandeville, we have a lot of people who make good livings, and a lot of people, a lot of young kids, they live in really nice homes, and they're exposed to a lot of the the creature comforts of life. And then you have these other kids that don't have much of anything, and there's a big gap in between. And it's true. I witnessed it.
Yeah.
And I keep thinking, what's the remedy to this? I don't want us to be doomed, but I'm thinking, folks, we need to get back to some roots around here. People need to take some kids fishing. People need to take some kids into the woods. They need to teach them some living skills, some life skills, and challenge them.
The problem is that we're too busy. Our lifestyles now are way busier than they were 30 years ago.
True.
Like my dad, on the weekends, we were doing something. We were going fishing. We were going hunting. We were doing something. Now our lifestyles have changed to where we're so busy during the week, and time's just
flying by,
which is crazy. I don't know how it gets any faster, but it seems like it does. But it's almost like we don't have time, and I say we because it's us as society.
As a society, yeah.
It's like we don't have time to spend with our kids, so it's you almost, I'm going to say the word, is pawn them off on something else.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna use that as an example. Now, me and my son, we do a lot together. We deer hunt together. We fish together. We do a lot of things. But he does go hang out with his friends. He's not always behind that computer system or that the gaming system,
mm-hmm.
whatever. You know what I mean? I don't know, man. It's just society's changed as a whole, and we've got to get, like you said, we got to get back to our roots.
A little bit.
Yeah, you don't have to make a 180.
Yeah,
but you've got to slow down some, and it's hard. It's very difficult, especially owning my own business. You own your own business. You know what it's like because my phone doesn't stop just because it's Saturday or Sunday.
Mr. Ronnie, I thank you so much for coming and talking with me. I know you and I could chit chat all day.
We could, couldn't we?
But we've covered some really fine points here. And if I never have the opportunity to speak again, I know that the stuff that we have talked about is all very true and all very real because we've all experienced it. And I think we should, whenever we have the opportunity to share with people and to offer guidance and to offer experience, we should take that as best we can, And so one of my major goals coming into this was to have the opportunity to tell people, if you're interested in being involved in the outdoors, there is a million reasons why you should do it and not a lot of reasons why you shouldn't. You don't have to kill stuff. You can just do outdoorsy stuff. You can just shoot the bow. You don't ever have to go hunting.
Just go walk through the woods.
Go be outside. And if you do want to learn about archery, if you do want to learn about, gunmanship, and you do want to learn about, fishing and things like that, there are so many resources. And the American Hunter right here in St. Tammany Parish, right, in Covington, just walk in, folks. Anybody who's interested in any of the topics that we've covered, give them a call, pop by, shoot them a message.
Yeah,
give them an email. There's no reason why you can't at least dip your toe in the water. And if you find out it's not for you, that's cool. Go do something else.
But at least you've tried.
But try it. I recommend, because so many people go through life and they go, man, I wish I had the opportunity to shoot a bow or to shoot a shotgun. I've never shot a shotgun before. There's plenty places that you can do that and get in the game and find really good guidance there. That's the other thing with the service that you offer. It's not just
all the resources are there for a reason.
That's right.
Use them to your advantage.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. Please do. Don't delay, folks.
That's right.
Mr. Ronnie, thank you so much for coming and talking with me today. It's been a pleasure. I knew we'd have a good chat together.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And we absolutely have. I look forward to our next shooting event at your facility. And anybody, listen, here's another one more thing too. If you want to come spectate, come on down. Come and watch. You don't have to get in for the first time.
Good
come
point.
And see it.
Good point. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, because the people who are there work really hard to hone their skill, and they've spent a lot of time and money and effort into learning, and they would be honored to have people watch. You wouldn't bug anybody by coming and spectating.
And if you own a bow and you just want to come spectate, make sure you bring your bow, because as soon as you walk back there, you're going to be like, I'm going back to the truck to get my bow.
Yeah, I want to try it. That's right. Go and see it. And even if you don't participate in the event, there's still the opportunity to shoot. There's you have a beautiful shooting range indoor and outside behind the building. You don't see it when you're driving by, so that's why you got to go stop in and see. But yeah, there's just so many opportunities to get in the game. So I encourage everyone, please do it. You won't regret it.
That's it, man.
All right. Thanks again, man.
All right. Thank you.
It's the Diamond King. It's the Diamond King Podcast.